Welcome to the tutorial for weld-bore elements. In this section, we'll cover labels, individual perforations, and tool elements including bridge plugs, whipstocks, and many more. Elements are found in the WBD Objects and Elements section of the ribbon. In this tutorial, we'll cover the three on the left, and the vertical scale and stratigraphy will be demonstrated in another tutorial. First, we'll open the Builder window and load a previously saved double build weld to use in this example. Starting with the Label section, we'll label the casing in this weld bore. Click in the Label drop-down. There are 5 label options. The first 4 contain an arrow pointing from the label in all 4 directions, left, right, up, and down. The last label option doesn't contain an arrow at all. Before demonstrating a label, let's open the Object Settings menu on the right of the ribbon. In the top right corner of the window, we can customize how the label will appear with many options. Let's increase the font size to 12 and change the fill color to cream. After making these changes, we can either click Set Program Default to set these parameters as the default for the program, or Set File Default to make these parameters default for this file only. You must click either of these buttons for the changes to apply. We'll click Set File Default. Now let's add a label to the surface casing. We'll select Add Label drop-down menu and click the left arrow label button. You'll see it adds a label to the worksheet. User tip: when we select the label, notice there are different parts of the label. An outline for the entire label, an outline for the text box portion only, and the arrow itself. If we click and drag the outline for the text box, notice how the tip of the arrow stays anchored in place. And if we click and drag the outline for the entire label, the arrow tip moves with the label. But if we click and move the tip of the arrow itself, afterwards, we lose the ability to move the label text section with the arrow tip staying anchored. We'll delete this label and start a new one. For position in the label, it's best to first move the entire label and position the arrow point where you want it to be. And afterwards, to move the text box outline where you want the text box to be. After we've positioned the label, we can triple-click the text box and change the text to whatever we want. We'll enter the 10 3/4 inch casing details for this example. Now we'll add a label for the Stage tool using the right arrow label, and we'll move it into position with the same process. And we'll change the text to Stage tool. Finally, we'll add the label for the long string using the down arrow label, moving and positioning it using the same process. And we'll change the text to the 7-inch casing details. Now let's move to the Add Perforation section. As covered in the Builder, the perforations can be added within the Builder when the weld schematic is originally created. This tool is to add a single perforation after the fact if needed for any reason. When we click the Add Perforations drop-down menu, we have many options for perfs including vertical, lateral, and single perforations in 4 different orientations. We'll go ahead and click Vertical Perf, and the perforation appears on the worksheet. When we move this perforation onto the weld bore, notice it doesn't fit the casing. Let's take a look at the Object Settings. As covered in the Builder Perforations tutorial, these settings on the top left will adjust how the perforations will appear. But for this tool, if we go down to the Objects and Elements section on the bottom right, we can adjust the bore spacing to the size of the perforations and other object elements so that they match the weld bore casing. Notice that the bore spacing is set to 12 1/4 inches. The casing in the production interval of this weld bore is 7 inches. So if we change the bore spacing to 7 inches and click Set File Default, then add another perforation, the new perforation fits the casing exactly. Do note, however, that if the weld bore schematic is drawn with the casing scaling factor or the casing bore factor in the Builder set to anything other than 1, the bore spacing value in the Object Settings will not match the weld bore casing sizes, and finding the correct bore spacing sizes will need to be found manually with trial and error. Moving to the Add Element tool on the ribbon, When we click the drop-down menu, you'll see a list of tools available. These tools are also scaled to size with the bore spacing and annular spacing parameters in the default settings. The Stage tool is the only one that is scaled based on the annular spacing. The rest are all scaled to size from the bore spacing value. We'll add a bridge plug, a whipstock, and a Stage tool to the worksheet, and we'll drag them all in place on the schematic. If we adjust the annular spacing up to 10 and click the Set File Default and then add another Stage tool, notice the size increase from the previous tool. This concludes a tutorial for Weld-Bore Elements. Be sure to check out more videos to learn about all the features of Weld-Bore Genie.